Welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about how to set up Google integration for Google Classroom with the Synergy Gradebook. So you'll notice we're going to go ahead and log into our Synergy Gradebook and look for this Google G. And then we're going to talk about the settings and the proper settings that we're going to want to set up to have everything work. So the first thing you'll do is go ahead and log into Synergy. And this is just a test site, so it's not exactly how it's going to be, but it should be similar to what you'll see when you are working with yours. And once it finishes loading, you'll see your regular options for taking attendance and things like that. But we want to actually go to the Gradebook to set up the integration. So I'm just going to click here where it says Gradebook at the top. And it's giving me some alerts. Don't worry about that. That's just because this is a test site. But you'll see we have this G here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Now, because the district has set up the sync for me, I didn't even actually need to log in. It automatically recognized my email and connected me to my my work Google account. So it might do that for you. If not, you'll have a button here to allow the connection, and you can go through those steps. But if it does automatically connect you, it'll just look like this. And then what we're going to look for is the little settings wheel, so we can go into the settings. All right, so in the settings, we have some options, and we want to set these general options before we actually sync up our specific Google Classrooms. So by default, the session auto sync is on, and that just means that every time you sign in, it's going to kind of automatically sync up with whatever Google Classrooms it's connected to. So more than likely, we're going to want to leave that on. That's a good setting to have. And then over here, you're supposed to select a default assignment type. Now, what this means is that usually the Synergy Gradebook is going to try to match your assignment type based on the instructions field. So most of the time, if you fill out the instructions and you put the type of assignment it is, like if it's a test and you say in your instructions, please take this test or click on the test or anything with the word test, it's going to automatically put that under your test category because it'll know it's a test. Or if you say, this is your homework assignment, something where it's giving a keyword that matches one of your assignment types, it'll try to put it there. Now, what it's asking for here is if it can't figure it out, if it can't decide or can't decipher which assignment type that Google Classroom assignment is, where do you want them to put it by default? And so you have, of course, any of your options from your categories are here. I like to just leave mine under a regular assignment. And then if it goes in the wrong place, we'll talk about how you can manually fix that or change it later. Okay, so that's up to you though. You can choose from any of your default categories. If most of your assignments are homework, then maybe you're going to want to pick that. If most of your assignments are quizzes, you could put that. So it just depends kind of on your classroom. Then after that, you have what should the default points value be? And here are your options. You could set it to a specific number. If all of your assignments are 100 points, because you just do everything out of 100 points, then maybe you'll want to set that up. And then if you have assignment weights that you happen to use and you want it to always match those point values, you could use that. But what I would recommend is that you use the match max score value, because usually when we're creating an assignment in Google Classroom, for example, any new assignment, just call this my sample Synergy assignment 1, okay? You usually pick a point value over here. So what if what you're putting over here is what you would want to go in your gradebook, then on Synergy, you're going to say match max score value. Because if you're already setting it up or you've already set it up over here and you want it to read that and come over, that's the one you're going to want to put. And then just to go back to the prior setting where we talked about instructions, let's just say this was a homework assignment and I want it to go into homework. I'm going to say something like, please complete the attached homework assignment. Oh, actually, I don't want to put the word assignment in there because then it might go to assignment. Please complete the attached homework page, right? And then it should see that word homework and put it in my homework category. And if I have the max score, it's going to take it in as 25 points, like I've designated there. Okay. All right. So those are the first two settings here. Then on this one, the sync block phrase. All this means, and you can read about it here, all this means is that if for some reason you're putting an assignment in your Google Classroom that you don't want to go in the Synergy Gradebook, maybe it's something that's not graded, maybe it's just something that you're doing on the fly real quick and it's just kind of a quick participation thing, you're not going to do anything with it in your Synergy Gradebook, you can choose a phrase that will keep it from going into your gradebook. And so this is something you choose, and you can have it be a word phrase, or you can have it represented just by some an acronym. So I chose NFSG to stand for Not for Synergy Gradebook. So let's just say this assignment here, this homework page, I'm not going to grade it. It's just something I want them to do for practice. Then if I put my little code down here in the assignment, in the instructions, Synergy knows not to bring that assignment in. So it would stay on Google Classroom, but it would not come into the Synergy Gradebook. All right, so that's that setting. Then the other setting that we have is they want to know what to do with scores of 0, and whether you want to assign any sort of comment code to it when it has a 0. So this is for if you do grading on Google Classroom. So we know that Google Classroom does have the ability where you can put in grades for assignments and such. So if you were to do that, then if you wanted a comment code attached to it when it came in, you could tell it to do that. Now, if you don't do your grading in Google Classroom, then you don't really have to worry about this one. Leave zeros without a comment because everything's going to come in ungraded because you're going to grade it in Synergy. So you wouldn't need to worry about that. But if you do grade in Google Classroom and you want those grades to come over, and anytime they see a 0, that usually means that it was incomplete or it wasn't turned in. Then you could say anytime a 0 comes in from Google Classroom, I want Synergy to mark it incomplete, because the only reason I give zeros is if it hasn't turned in or if it's missing, or if you had the comment code for missing in here. I don't see one in here for missing. Comments can be set up in another area. We could talk about that. But if you did have one and anytime it came in as a 0, you wanted it to say missing, you could mark it that way. I'm just going to leave mine without a comment code because I would put those comments myself later. And then the last setting we have is overriding with blanks. And so I'm going to suggest that you always leave it on prevent blanks from overriding. And the reason I say this is let's just say that you had transferred things in and you were on Synergy and you put in some grades on Synergy, but you didn't grade it on Google Classroom. Now, when Google Classroom syncs up, because you didn't grade it on there and those are coming in as blanks, it would override and it would wipe out the work you did when you were on Synergy. So my recommendation is to say prevent blanks from overriding and leave it at that. This just because I know a lot of times we're going to make our final corrections or our final grade score edits probably in the Synergy Gradebook. So we don't want us forgetting to do it over on Google Classroom or anything like that, or us not grading on Google Classroom to overwrite the work we've done there. So you're going to leave that at, again, you have two options. My recommendation is do prevent blanks from overwriting, and then you're done with those settings. And we'll talk about more with the gradebook and the integration in some later videos.